You know, for an ex-military man who hates sentiment, you look genuinely pleased that we found a tangible clue tied to the woman who was trying to flirt with you." Jack pulled his glasses back on, his expression going completely neutral. "I'm pleased because it ties the case down to a physical location in Cairo, Ava. And frankly, your immediate, highly verbal dislike of Ms. El-Sayed told me more about her motivation than her hair sample ever could." Ava's cheeks flushed slightly. She gave a small, genuine ha-ha, but quickly cleared her throat, returning to her professional persona. "My professional observation was that she was a Class A distraction technique, William. And now, she's our first real suspect. We start with the travel agency." "Agreed," Jack said, his eyes finally meeting hers. A brief, intense moment of shared certainty. "We need to find out who bought a trip out of Cairo. A trip paid for by the dead woman's account." The next morning, the traffic on the way to the Heliopolis district was a loud, unforgiving tide. Jack and Ava were quiet, the lingering scent of betrayal from Kareem El-Sayed's grief now mixed with the raw, honest smells of Cairo, dust, strong coffee, and the sharp bite of diesel. "If you didn't hate crowds so much, William," Ava said, leaning back to avoid a weaving motorcycle, "I'd suggest we ditch the car and walk. You might find your zen in the middle of this chaos." Jack, observing the masterful chaos of the traffic flow, offered a short exhale. "I find my zen in predictable systems, Wells. This city is not predictable. It is, however, efficient in its own way. Right? Efficient in its ability to give you an aneurysm," she teased, watching his controlled posture. "But seriously, Heliopolis. The first digital trail leads to a women's luxury boutique. That doesn't sound like the sister, Olivia. She feels too entitled to buy things. She'd just demand them. This smells like the new girlfriend, Layla Hassan, trying to upgrade her wardrobe with stolen funds. Or the wife establishing a new identity," Jack countered, his eyes scanning the elegant shop fronts of the high-end district. "Thieves purchase luxury goods for two reasons: camouflage or quick resale. Let's see which it is." The boutique, named El Layla, was a sanctuary of cool air and expensive leather. The manager, a stylish woman in her early 50s, was immediately attentive. Ava took the lead, using her intuitive social skills. She focused not on the crime, but on the client. "We're trying to locate a very specific piece of luggage," Ava explained smoothly. "An older, elegant woman. She purchased it using a complex digital payment system." The manager immediately remembered. "Yes, about 6 months ago. Very discreet, very specific taste. She paid with a local service. Unusual, but it cleared instantly. She bought a full set of custom, lightweight travel bags." The manager described the woman as having an elegant, severe haircut and a quiet, almost regal demeanor, a description that perfectly matched a slightly older, more hardened Amina El-Sayed. Jack cut in, his voice quiet. "Did she express any specific requirements for the bags? Security? Durability? Only one thing," the manager recalled, frowning slightly. "She was insistent that we not offer her the signature brass-studded weekender. She said it was too flashy for a new beginning and preferred the plain, smooth leather set. That was very odd. Our signature piece is our best seller." Ava stepped forward and pulled out a photo of the missing curse of Anubis necklace, its ancient gold heavy with ornate craftsmanship. "Did she mention any jewelry? Anything ancient or gold?" The manager's eyes widened slightly at the photograph of the priceless artifact, but she shook her head. "No, nothing." She seemed focused on packing light. As they left the boutique, Ava let out a short, sarcastic laugh. "See, William? I told you. Olivia wouldn't find that necklace too flashy. She'd wear it out to a luncheon. This is the wife. She's ditching the family's ostentatious past for something quieter." The bag purchase confirms she planned an extended journey, not a quick robbery, Jack concluded, checking his phone for the next address. But that phrase, "too flashy for a new beginning," that suggests the stolen jewelry is for liquidity, not for wearing. Next stop, the travel agency. The travel agency was in a bustling, crowded downtown area, a sharp contrast to the quiet luxury of Heliopolis. It was small, with brochures featuring sun-drenched beaches and ancient ruins. The agent, a young man named Hakim, was initially hesitant until Jack showed him his credentials. Ava then showed the transaction receipt for the large digital wallet payment. "Ah, the Red Sea trip," Hakim murmured, recognizing the amount. That was strange. The client was very insistent on total privacy. One person, a single reservation, non-refundable. Ava leaned closer, using a confident, engaging tone. This client paid a large amount for a highly specific, 7-day advanced deep-sea diving excursion. Exactly, Hakim confirmed. Near Dahab, a small, remote resort on the Red Sea coast, not far from Alexandria. She booked it 6 months ago, around the same time those initial withdrawals began. She paid a premium for a private instructor and specific equipment. Jack's calm, expressive eyes narrowed. Dahab, near Alexandria, the city where her fake death, a drowning, was staged. The irony is thick enough to cut with a knife, Ava whispered, running a digital forensic scan on the agency's Wi-Fi network. She escaped her drowning in the Nile, only to spend her new life deep-sea diving in the Red Sea. It's either a dark joke or a deeply sick way to prove she mastered her escape. While Jack spoke with the agent about the specific name on the reservation, a common, untraceable alias like Fatima Khalil, Ava's digital investigation snagged something. "Got it," Ava announced, stepping back from the counter. The agent's booking system uses a cloud service. I found a metadata echo. The client sent one single photo to the agent, a preferred view of the resort, from a device that was logged into a nearby Wi-Fi network 4 years ago. That network belongs to a small, private villa in Alexandria. Jack turned, his face showing a rare flicker of profound realization. She didn't run 6 months ago when the money was drained. She ran 4 years ago when the court declared her dead. The withdrawals are just recent spending. She's been living in Alexandria this entire time, waiting for the right financial trigger, which was the safe code. Ava finished, her voice cold with the depth of the deception. And the whole curse melodrama was just the perfect camouflage, making Kareem so emotionally vulnerable that he'd tell his secrets. Later that night, back in the relative peace of the Zamalek apartment, the case file lay open on the table. Jack and Ava were quiet, the heavy weight of the wife's long-term betrayal settling over them. Ava was scrolling through the various photos she'd quickly taken of the Heliopolis boutique's custom travel bags. Cypher, the Russian blue cat, was perched on the top of a wooden bookcase, its vivid emerald green eyes watching Ava with its usual silent, judging expression. Ava muttered, frustrated. She bought a full set of custom luggage. "It's professional. It's untraceable. I need a link between the wife and this travel kit. Something to confirm the identity." As if judging her lack of progress, Cypher extended an elegant paw and, with barely a sound, knocked over a dusty, old copy of a Red Sea diving guide from the top shelf. The guide landed with a soft thump directly next to Ava's laptop. Jack glanced over, his eyes following the cat's movement before landing on the book. "What was that?" Ava picked up the book. "Just the cat, William. Judging my research methods." She opened the book, recognizing the location name. "Wait a minute. This is a very specific guide to Dahab and the Alexandria coast." Kareem said Amina never liked the sea after her drowning. She flipped through the pages and stopped at a bookmark. The page showed a small, remote diving resort, the exact resort Hakim, the travel agent, had booked. Scrawled next to the photo was a small note in neat handwriting. Asterisk, the perfect escape. Our first real secret. Asterisk. The handwriting was Amina's. It wasn't a secret from him, Jack said quietly, his gaze resting on the handwriting. It was a secret for him, a life she planned for herself, years ago, and hid in plain sight. Ava looked at the note, then back at the sleek cat watching from above. Our elusive, dead thief just confirmed her destination and her motive. It wasn't the necklace she stole, Jack. It was the future she deserved, according to her. Alexandria is 4 hours away, Jack stated, standing up and reaching for his travel bag. It's time to find a woman who survived her own funeral. The next morning, the unmarked rental car sliced through the quiet, cool air of the desert highway, moving away from the loud intensity of Cairo. Jack was behind the wheel, his eyes fixed on the ribbon of asphalt ahead, his usual focus amplified by the knowledge that their 7-year-old ghost was only a few hours away. Ava was scrolling through her files, the details of Amina El Sayed's staged drowning, the recovered car, the missing body, the grieving husband, flashing across her screen. I still can't get over the sheer audacity, Ava murmured, pushing a loose strand of her wavy, deep chestnut hair behind her ear. 7 years of silence, built on a lie that was validated by the court, only to be ruined by greed. You think she regrets reading that email with the safe code? Jack didn't look away from the road, the subtle tension in his jaw being his only answer. Regret is a luxury for the exposed Wells. She acted on instinct when she saw the chance to liquidate the curse of Anubis necklace. She's a survivor, not a victim of her own conscience. A survivor who didn't count on her husband's intense, melodramatic devotion, Ava countered with a slight smirk. He kept sending her money, and she just kept taking it. She was stealing his love, one direct deposit at a time. That's a dark kind of efficiency. The highway was straight, flanked by arid desert, giving way to intermittent stretches of newly planted agricultural land. Speaking of efficiency, Ava continued, leaning her head back against the rest, her tone shifting to playful. You've been extremely efficient at ignoring the social pleasantries of the wealthy sister. Was that deliberate? Or are you just allergic to women who wear too much perfume and try to buy you dinner? Jack offered a low, dry chuckle that was barely audible. My job is to observe, Ava, not participate. Olivia El Sayed was engaging in distraction. My focus was on the evidence. Ava said, dragging the word out. And your focus was not on watching me almost tear my own throat out because a suspect was flirting with my partner's tactical support. A corner of Jack's mouth twitched, a rare, genuine sign of amusement. You were highly effective in redirecting her attention, Detective Wells. Your professional capacity for disdain proved invaluable. I see what you did there, she said, her voice dropping conspiratorially. You're complimenting my work while denying you enjoyed my jealousy. 5 out of 10 for effort, soldier. Next time, try acknowledging the heat. As they drove, the landscape slowly began to shift. The intense, tawny browns of the desert gave way to patches of green, and the air grew slightly heavier, carrying the faint, salty promise of the sea. Look at this, Ava said, gesturing to the roadside. We're almost to the delta. You can feel the history change. Cairo is thousands of years of empires and chaos. Alexandria is the port, the library, the connection to the Mediterranean, a different kind of sophistication. Jack nodded, subtly agreeing with her observation. It's a city built on information and transit. Perfect for someone who wants to erase a life and start a new one, all while holding a ticket out of the country. Which brings us back to the sister, Olivia El Sayed, Ava said, pulling up the information she had gathered on the strange encrypted text messages. I managed to break the final message. The silver piece is secure. The transfer must be fast. We know the silver piece is the hair left at the safe box, or perhaps a small piece of silver artifact. But the transfer part bothers me. It could mean transferring the necklace to a fence, Jack suggested. Or, Ava countered, it could mean transferring funds. I dug into Olivia's personal assets. She has a deep, secret financial tie to a failing import-export business, the same industry that uses the shady local payment gateway we found. She's desperate for cash, and the necklace is an easy loan collateral. Jack frowned. So Olivia is the fence who stole the necklace, possibly to save her business, and the wife is just the accomplice who provided the code? It's too neat, Ava countered, leaning closer to him. It puts the crime on the living, which is what they want. But why would Amina, the wife who's been meticulously hoarding cash for 7 years, suddenly give up her golden ticket, the necklace, to her sister-in-law, who she probably despises, just for a small slice of money? The suspicion hung in the air. The simplest explanation, Olivia, was usually a deliberate misdirection. They finally hit the main outskirts of Alexandria. The colors were brighter, the buildings more European in style, and the breeze coming off the sea was cool and bracing. Jack pulled off the main road, navigating toward the quiet, residential district where Amina's rented villa was located. She hasn't moved the money since she cleared out the safe deposit box, Ava noted, checking the digital trace one last time. She's confident. Too confident. Jack found the address, a small, unassuming villa with high walls and a well-tended garden, far less ostentatious than Kareem's Cairo apartment. It looked like the home of a wealthy, quiet widow. Jack parked the car 2 blocks away, switching off the engine. The only sound was the distant murmur of the sea. She's been alive for 7 years, Ava. She watched her husband grieve for her. She took his money every month, Jack stated, his voice low and serious. The moment we approach that house, her new life is over. She knows the stakes. Ava looked at him, the lightness gone from her eyes, replaced by a deep, focused determination. We need to hit her with the one thing she hasn't accounted for, the emotional impact on Kareem. She prepared for the police, but not for the consequence of his love. That's the key. Jack let out a single, sharp exhale, the closest he came to a nervous sigh. He reached for the door handle. Ready, Wells? Ava met his eyes, a flicker of professional excitement mixed with residual tension. She offered a tight, controlled smirk. Ready, William. Let's go meet the dead bride. The air in Alexandria was thick with the brine of the Mediterranean. Jack and Ava approached the high-walled villa on foot, their footsteps silent on the warm pavement. Ava shifted the strap of her bag. Cypher, inside, remained still. A small, silent, highly observant presence nestled against her side. Ready to break 7 years of silence, William. Ava murmured, her voice tight with professional anticipation. Jack stopped at the heavy wooden door, his expression unreadable. She will deny everything until the bank records and the travel purchase are placed on the table. She's calculated, not impulsive. She prepared for this moment the day she drove her car into the water. She prepared for the police, not the husband's grief. Ava reminded him. Remember the core motive. She ran from his love. We use that, not the law, to break her. Jack lifted his hand and knocked, a controlled, firm rap that echoed in the quiet street. The door was eventually opened by a woman who matched Amina El Sayed's old photos, but with a crucial difference. The face was thinner, harder, and the softness around the eyes had been replaced by a ruthless, controlled determination. Her hair was short, severe, and elegantly styled. She looked exactly like the woman who bought the non-flashy travel bags. "Can I help you?" Amina asked, her voice low and even, betraying no shock at seeing 2 foreign detectives on her doorstep. "Mrs. El Sayed, or should we use your new alias, Fatima Khalil?" Jack's tone was completely neutral, stripping her of the last shred of her comfortable deception. Amina's lips pressed into a thin, white line. She didn't panic, she analyzed. "I don't know who you are. I think you should leave." Ava stepped forward, her calm but sharp gaze locking with Amina's. "We're here about Kareem, your husband, the one who has spent every single day for the last 7 years thinking about your death. The one who still writes you emails, sharing his deepest secrets and his pain." The mention of Kareem's grief landed with a visible strike. Amina flinched, a rapid, involuntary tremor running through her hand before she gripped the door frame. "He was suffocating me," Amina stated, her voice trembling slightly with cold anger. "His love was a melodrama I couldn't escape. His grief was his choice, not my fault. His grief funded your new life." Jack cut in, showing her the banking app screenshot showing the 7 years of monthly deposits. "For 7 years, you watched him mourn you, and every month, you received his tribute. Did that feel like escaping, Mrs. El Sayed, or just taking advantage?" Amina finally broke. She didn't cry, she laughed, a short, dry, scornful sound that offered no humor. "Haha." She stepped aside, a gesture of defeat and cold defiance. "Fine, come in. But I only talk about the necklace." Inside the villa, the atmosphere was minimalist and clean, devoid of any personal photos or history. Amina confessed the stage drowning, the new identity, and the theft. Her tone was purely defensive, detailing how she felt imprisoned by the rigid traditions and wealth of the El Sayed family. "I needed the money," Amina said, leaning against a stark white wall. "But I never intended to take the necklace. I saw his email, the safe code, the mention of the curse of Anubis, and I panicked. I realized that if I was ever discovered, they would use the necklace to tie me back to Kareem's family." "So you stole the priceless heirloom as a preventative measure?" Ava asked, her voice laced with skepticism. "That doesn't sound like escaping. That sounds like revenge." "It's insurance," Amina snapped. "It's the only thing that gave me leverage. I took it, but I don't have it now. I arranged a transfer. It's gone." "Gone where?" Jack pressed, his eyes scanning the room, searching for the single flaw in her prepared defense. "Sold. Liquefied. I hired someone to move it immediately. An antique dealer who specializes in fast, discreet sales of high-value items. Ava walked toward a small, built-in bookshelf. She noticed a book on marine life and a detailed photo album lying open on a stand. Photos of Amina deep-sea diving in the Red Sea, smiling broadly. This contradicted her earlier statement to Kareem that she hated the sea. Ava picked up the album and turned to Amina, her voice cutting through the lie. You told Kareem you hated the sea after your accident. Yet, you booked an advanced dive trip, and your new life revolves around mastering the thing you supposedly drowned in. You're not running from the past, Amina. You're embracing the escape you built. Ava then pointed to a subtle detail in one of the diving photos. A small, dark object affixed to Amina's dive tank. A piece of antique silver fashioned into a religious pendant. That pendant. It looks very similar to the style of the El Sayed family jewelry. Amina's cool facade finally shattered. She didn't just look disturbed. She looked genuinely frightened, not of the detectives, but of the person she'd dealt with. It wasn't sold. Amina choked out, the words forced. It was leverage. I used it as collateral for a massive loan. I needed the cash flow to buy a boat, a permanent escape route. Jack immediately recognized the shift. Leverage means the necklace is still intact and is being held by a third party. Who has the collateral, Amina? Jack asked, his voice now dangerously soft. She closed her eyes, clearing her throat with a dry sound, before finally naming the person who held the power over her newfound freedom. I hired a broker, a family associate who has access to discreet financing and can handle the sale if I default. His name is Omar El Sayed. He's Kareem's older brother. The twist was instant and sharp. The crime had been a family affair from the start. The culprit who held the curse of Anubis necklace was not the dead wife, the desperate girlfriend, or the entitled sister. It was the brother. The return drive from Alexandria to Cairo was frantic. The stark blue Mediterranean had given way to the deep, swirling orange of the late afternoon desert, but neither Jack nor Ava noticed the change in scenery. The entire framework of the case, the grieving husband, the fake drowning, the stolen funds, had shattered in the face of Amina's final confession. In the back seat, Ava was already working, her laptop balanced precariously on her knees, the screen reflecting the changing desert light. It was never just about the money, Ava said, her voice sharp with revelation. The bank transfers were a personal insult to Kareem, but the necklace was always the main goal. And Amina didn't want the necklace. She just needed leverage to buy herself a new life, a boat, and a clean break from Egypt. Jack, focused on maintaining speed and control on the highway, absorbed the information. Omar El Sayed is the key. He's the older brother who supposedly runs the family's assets. Amina said he's a broker who specializes in discreet financing and can handle a sale if she defaults. That means the curse of Anubis necklace is currently locked in Omar's possession, being used as collateral. And that fits the whole pattern of the family, Ava mused, typing rapidly. Olivia was the red herring who wanted the necklace for pride and lineage. Layla was the red herring who wanted Kareem for his current money. But Omar? Omar wants the necklace for power, to control his brother and secure his own financial position using an asset that is untraceable and non-taxable. Ava paused her typing, leaning forward to address the back seat where Cypher, now out of the bag and perched on the seat rest, was observing the speeding cars with his usual air of silent, regal disdain. See, William, Ava continued, directing her comment to Jack but glancing at the cat. This is why I prefer the judgment of a creature that doesn't pretend to love you for your assets. At least the disdain is honest. Jack offered a low, dry sound of amusement. You're projecting your feelings about the El Sayed family onto the Russian blue wells. And I believe you are forgetting someone. They were forced to slow briefly as they passed a small local settlement, the scent of burning wood and roasting meat wafting in through the windows. A few hours later, they arrived back at the Zamalek apartment. It was well past sundown, and the apartment was dark except for the lights spilling from Kareem's kitchen. Whiskey, Jack's yellow Labrador retriever, met them at the door. Unlike the aloof welcome of the cat, Whiskey's greeting was a full-body expression of loyalty, a happy, rhythmic tail thump against the tiled floor, and a low, rumbling groan of satisfaction. While Jack spoke quietly with a tense, exhausted Kareem El-Sayed about the need to now focus on his brother, Ava took a quick inventory of the apartment. She was looking for any potential connection between Omar and Amina that predated the necklace theft. She sat at the kitchen table, running a database cross-reference on Omar El-Sayed's business dealings. Suddenly, Kareem's yellow Labrador retriever, large, athletic, and utterly unconcerned with high finance, came lumbering up to the table. Whiskey pushed his large, soft nose firmly against Ava's hand, then nudged her laptop with his head. "Easy, boy," Ava murmured, rubbing the dog's rich, fox-red golden coat. "You smell corruption? Or just my bad cooking?" Whiskey ignored the comment, letting out a frustrated sigh that caused his strong tail to sweep heavily against the floor. He then walked over to a high corner cabinet, stood on his hind legs, and pawed heavily at a specific wooden door, letting out a soft, repetitive whine. Jack, deep in conversation with Kareem, glanced over, his calm, expressive eyes immediately registering the dog's unusual persistence. "What is that, Kareem?" Jack asked, pointing to the cabinet. Kareem, whose face was still etched with exhaustion, frowned. "It's nothing. Just an old storage space. Amina used to keep her diaries there. I haven't touched them since the accident." Ava's eyes went wide. Cypher, watching from the kitchen counter, gave a single, elegant blink, a silent acknowledgement of the dog's accidental genius. "Diaries," Ava whispered. 7 years of life. If they were kept in Cairo, they were either a decoy, or they contained the truth she couldn't risk bringing to Alexandria. Jack retrieved the heavy box of leather-bound diaries. They were beautiful, expensive, and meticulously dated. The last entry was exactly 7 years and 1 month ago, just before the staged accident. They took the diaries back to the living room. Kareem was too distraught to look at them. Ava opened the final diary. The handwriting was neat, fluid, and completely cold. The entries detailed her growing resentment of Kareem's wealth and control. But the final entry held the true shock, a heavily coded conversation. The decoded entry, written exactly 1 week before the staged drowning, read, "Omar is the solution. He needs the collateral for his failed imports, and I need the escape. His condition, he keeps the necklace until I am safe abroad. It gives us both the perfect cover." Jack and Ava exchanged a single, intense look. The family betrayal ran deeper than just the wife. The brother, Omar El-Sayed, was not merely a broker. He was the co-conspirator. The stolen money went to Amina. The priceless necklace went to Omar. Ava leaned back, running a hand through her hair. The sister, Olivia, wasn't jealous of Layla. She was panicking because she knew her brother Omar was getting reckless and desperate. She feared Omar would ruin the family's honor by selling the curse of Anubis to save his failing business, not knowing Amina was already involved. Jack nodded, his disciplined posture relaxing slightly now that the full picture was clear. Omar is using the necklace as collateral for his own financial solvency. He has the perfect motive for fast liquidation. And we just confirmed he has had the necklace for over 7 years, not just since last week. He looked at Ava, a rare, shared moment of professional triumph. It wasn't a crime of passion, Wells. It was a well-funded, 7-year-long business deal between 2 family members who wanted to profit from Kareem's blind love. Ava offered him a tired, slightly strained smile, the exhaustion softening the edges of her usual confidence. And the whole Pharaoh's curse drama? Just another layer of misdirection, designed by the master manipulator, Amina, to keep Kareem focused on ancient woes instead of modern bank accounts. She then gave him a playful, familiar smirk. "Ready to go confront the favorite brother, soldier?" "I was ready 7 hours ago," Jack stated, standing up and reaching for his tailored black coat. "He's waiting for us to accuse the wrong person. We're going to accuse him of being a good brother." The drive across Cairo to the financial district was conducted in silence, the tension between Jack and Ava thick with the weight of the 7-year-long conspiracy. They were no longer hunting a ghost. They were hunting a traitor. Omar El-Sayed is the older brother who was supposed to inherit the power, but Kareem inherited the wealth. Ava mused, breaking the silence as they neared a towering office building. He has the classic sibling motive, resentment dressed up as superiority. He likely saw the curse of Anubis necklace not as an heirloom, but as the only valuable thing his failed business could still leverage. Jack pulled the car into a discreet parking spot. We don't accuse him of betrayal immediately. We accuse him of being a good brother who was trying to help Amina escape his overbearing brother. We let him talk himself into a corner. Ava gave him a tired, appreciative smirk. I love it when you get ruthlessly efficient, William. It's almost comforting. Jack simply exhaled and opened his door. Focus, Wells. We get the necklace, then we worry about comfort. They found Omar El Sayed in a sleek, modern office that clearly belonged to a man desperately trying to project success. Omar, a man in his late 50s with expensive, tailored clothes and a practiced air of calm, met them with a dismissive wave. Detectives, I assume you're here about my sister-in-law, Olivia. She's often reckless, Omar said, leaning back in his leather chair. I told Kareem that woman was desperate for the family jewels. Jack took a seat without invitation, placing the box of Amina's diaries on the corner of the polished desk. We're here about the curse of Anubis necklace, Mr. El Sayed, and the 7 years of financial records that show your sister-in-law, Amina, was not dead, but alive in Alexandria. Omar's forced calm fractured for a split second. He cleared his throat, a loud, dry, performative sound. A terrible shock, Detective. I've offered Kareem every support. I assure you, I am entirely focused on helping him retrieve the heirloom. We know, Ava said, leaning forward, her voice low and direct. Amina told us everything. She told us that you didn't help her retrieve the heirloom. You helped her steal it. You were the one who approached her a week before her drowning with the idea. She gets the freedom, and you get the collateral. Jack slowly slid the diary open, pointing to Amina's coded final entry. This entry is dated exactly 7 years and 1 month ago, Mr. El Sayed. It confirms you and Amina struck a deal. You needed the necklace as collateral to save your failing import-export business. Amina needed a clean escape from Kareem's suffocating love. The deal was simple. The necklace for your solvency, her freedom for your silence. Omar's face went pale. He gripped the arms of his chair, the superior facade crumbling into raw, visible anger. Kareem has always been the favored one, the sensitive artist who inherited the wealth. I built this business from nothing, and he always looked down on me. Ava seized the emotional opening. And for 7 years, you watched him send his love, his grief, in monthly deposits to her account. You watched him suffer, knowing the whole time that you were enabling the theft and financing your failure with his pain. That wasn't just business, Mr. El Sayed. That was cruelty. Omar threw his hands up in a gesture of defeated fury. Haha, cruelty? He suffocated her with his affection. I merely provided the solution that freed her and saved my legacy. The emotional breakdown confirmed their theory. Jack immediately shifted to the practical. Where's the necklace now, Omar? The curse of Anubis is not in your office, and your debtors will be liquidating your assets soon. Omar, breathing heavily, stared at the diary. It's not here. I haven't sold it yet. I couldn't. It's too high value for a fast market. I stored it. I paid a premium to keep it safe until I found a discreet buyer. He finally stood up, walked to a large map of the Cairo docks hanging on the wall, and tapped a point near the industrial shipping yards, a location separate from his main business. It's in a private, unmarked warehouse unit near the Al-Wadi docks. Unit 4B. The necklace is sealed inside a fireproof safe, waiting for transfer. It's the only asset I have left. Jack exchanged a brief, tight glance with Ava. The safe code, Omar. Now, Omar gave them the complex, numeric code, his defeat complete. He looked at Jack and Ava with bitter resentment. You solved a 7-year-old crime in 2 days. How? You didn't factor in the human element, Ava said simply, rising to leave. You planned for secrecy, but you didn't account for the dog's sense of smell leading us to the diaries, or the cat's judgment leading us to the escape route. The chaos of your betrayal was louder than your planning. Later that evening, Jack and Ava stood outside the dock warehouse. The air was cold, smelling of diesel and salt. Their immediate priority was securing the curse of Anubis necklace before Omar's imminent financial ruin resulted in his creditors finding the collateral. Jack had placed a quick, reassuring call to Kareem, confirming the brothers' betrayal and the location of the heirloom, but urging him to maintain absolute silence. Back at the apartment, Whiskey was asleep, having been given a massive bone for his crucial role in locating the diaries. Cypher was sitting on the windowsill, gazing out at the dark Cairo skyline, a silent spectator to the city's ceaseless flow of secrets. "We have the location and the code," Jack said, his voice low against the roar of the distant harbor. "We retrieve the necklace, we document the evidence of Omar's intent to sell, and we give the evidence to the police." Ava adjusted her coat against the sudden coastal chill. "It's a perfect ending, William. The grieving husband gets his family legacy back, the villainous brother goes down, and the wife gets exactly what she planned for. Freedom, paid for by her own crime." She offered him a tired, grateful smile. "You were right, soldier. It wasn't love that funded the crime. It was financial desperation." "It was both," Jack corrected, looking toward the dark warehouse door. "It was his love that provided the opportunity, and Omar's desperation that provided the method." The warehouse dock was a landscape of dark, stacked containers and humming generators. Jack and Ava moved swiftly and silently toward Unit 4B, the salt wind whipping off the harbor. The whole operation felt less like a police raid and more like a quiet repossession. "The poetic justice of this is almost overwhelming," Ava murmured as Jack prepared to enter Omar's complex safe code on the fireproof lockbox inside the warehouse unit. The family heirloom, used as collateral for a failing import business, is now being recovered by the two people Omar tried to frame. "He framed Layla, he framed Olivia, and he framed his brother's love," Jack stated, his fingers precise on the numerical pad. He saw Amina's deceit as an opportunity for solvency. He was the real parasite here. Ava offered him a tired, genuine smile. "You sound genuinely offended, William. Don't worry. Your faith in predictable human behavior remains intact. It's only the greedy ones who surprise you." Jack ignored the flirtatious jab. The final digit clicked into place, and the heavy safe door hissed open. Inside, nestled on a black velvet cloth, was the curse of Anubis necklace. It was more striking than the photos suggested. A heavy, ancient piece of gold and semi-precious stones, crafted with the solemn, powerful iconography of ancient Egypt. It radiated history and power, confirming its priceless status and the magnitude of Omar's attempted theft. "The Pharaoh's curse," Ava breathed, the sight of the object momentarily silencing her professional detachment. "It's beautiful and real." Omar almost liquidated 7 generations of family history. Jack used a pair of sterile tweezers to lift the necklace into an evidence bag, his expression calm and controlled despite the significance of the artifact. "The evidence is secured. Now for the hard part." Later that night, they returned to Kareem's luxurious but now heartbreakingly empty apartment. The atmosphere was heavy, yet quiet, the storm having finally passed. Kareem sat on his sofa, looking smaller and older than he had 2 days ago. Whiskey, having finished his triumphant bone, was now asleep on the rug, his large, athletic body relaxed and content. Cypher was back on the kitchen counter, watching the emotional exchange with his usual, silent scrutiny. Jack presented the evidence: the necklace, the bank transfers, Amina's diary, and the recording of Omar's confession. He detailed the plot with his usual calm, methodical precision, stripping away all the melodrama until only the cold business deal remained. Kareem looked at the necklace, now safely resting on his coffee table. He didn't reach for it. He didn't look angry. Instead, his eyes filled with a profound, aching sadness. "She planned it," Kareem whispered, his voice catching. "Not in a moment of panic, but methodically, for years. She didn't hate the sea, she loved the anonymity of the water. And Omar, my brother, he didn't just profit from my grief. He orchestrated it." He looked at Jack and Ava. "I thought I was mourning a beautiful loss. I was just funding a profitable betrayal. Thank you. You found the necklace, but you didn't find the thief. You found the lie." Ava, seeing the depth of his emotional injury, stepped closer. "Kareem, your love wasn't a flaw. Her inability to communicate and her greed were. You did nothing wrong. You are finally free from the person she pretended to be." Jack remained standing, his posture subtly conveying support without crossing his professional line. He knew Ava's emotional intelligence was vital here. "He won't press charges against her," Jack stated, anticipating the inevitable outcome. "He loves the woman she was supposed to be too much to ruin the woman she became. It ends with Omar and the financial fraud." Kareem nodded, tears finally tracking down his face. "I can't. Not after 7 years. Amina is gone, whether she's alive or not. I'll let the financial crimes against Omar be dealt with, and I will finally close that account." Much later, after the local police had taken Omar into custody and secured the evidence of the financial fraud, Jack and Ava were alone, packing their small travel bags in the silence of the now empty guest room. Ava zipped her bag shut, a thoughtful expression on her face. "It's unsettling, isn't it? The successful villain is the one who gets away with the smaller crime and avoids the big one. Amina got her freedom and her boat," Jack observed, checking his phone for their flight confirmation. "She lost the necklace, she lost her inheritance, and she lost the ability to ever see her old life again. She won a hollow victory." Ava walked over to Jack, her voice soft but intimate. "She got what she wanted, but she didn't get your controlled logic, William. She would have hated your methodical calmness." She looked up at him, her lips curving into a familiar, tired smirk. I, however, found it quite endearing. Jack met her gaze, his calm, expressive eyes acknowledging the connection without conceding the point. "You are easily entertained, Wells." He gave a barely perceptible smile. "Now, let's pack up the rest of the evidence. We have a very long flight back to London tomorrow." He turned to his bag, his posture disciplined, but Ava saw the subtle relief in his shoulders. Relief that the emotional trauma of the case was over, and relief that the dynamic between them remained intact. The last few hours in Cairo were dedicated to paperwork and cleanup. Omar El Sayed was formally charged with major financial fraud and theft, and the curse of Anubis necklace was officially placed into temporary government custody, awaiting its return to Kareem. The complex affair, fueled by 7 years of deception and family jealousy, was finally over. Jack and Ava sat in the empty Zamalek apartment, waiting for their transport to the airport. Whiskey, Jack's yellow Labrador retriever, was sitting happily at Jack's feet, occasionally letting out a deep, contented sigh. Cypher, in his carrier, remained completely silent, a final, judging farewell to the apartment's dark history. "We leave behind a free man who is financially ruined but emotionally healed, and an imprisoned brother who is financially saved but morally ruined," Ava summarized, sealing her laptop. "It's an Egyptian tragedy, William, and all thanks to a stray dog sniff and a judging cat's paw." Jack offered a rare, slight smile as he glanced down at the dog. "The evidence was always there, Wells. The pets simply expedited the process. They removed the noise." Ava pushed a hand through her wavy, deep chestnut hair, the fatigue of the case showing around her expressive eyes. "You know, for a man who claims to hate sentiment, you look profoundly satisfied that the love, however misguided, won out over the greed." "I look satisfied that the truth was exposed," Jack corrected, though his gaze softened slightly. "And that we are one step closer to a meal that doesn't involve questionable street shawarma." Ava chuckled, the sound quick and genuine. "You're all heart, soldier." A gold-plated, ex-military heart. Their transport arrived, and they left the silence of the high-rise for the clamor of the Cairo streets one last time. As they drove toward the airport, Ava gazed out the window at the familiar sight of the ancient buildings and the vibrant, crowded life. "It's going to be a shock to the system, going back to London's grey neutrality," Ava said softly. "This city has chaos, but it also has a profound sense of continuity. It grounds you. We go where the problem is most critical," Jack said, his focus already shifting back to the next mission. "I know," Ava responded, her professional confidence snapping back into place. "But I was hoping for maybe a day off. A quiet coffee shop where I could read without fearing a massive family conspiracy." Jack paused, looking at her. "I was thinking the same." They landed at Heathrow just after sunrise. The air was cold, damp, and immediately familiar. Before they could even reach baggage claim, a high-ranking, frantic government liaison met them on the tarmac, escorting them to a secure office. "Detectives, there's no time," the liaison said urgently, slamming a thick case file onto the table. "A body was found this morning in Manhattan. 5th Avenue penthouse." Jack's calm, expressive eyes immediately focused on the file's title, NYC Manhattan Homicide, Penthouse 502. "Who's the victim?" Ava asked, her exhaustion instantly forgotten, replaced by the rush of the chase. Elias Vance ***, the most celebrated but dangerous investigative journalist in New York. Found stabbed to death, The liaison whispered, his voice shaky. The NYPD is holding the scene, but the victim was sitting on classified files that impact US and UK security. He had a list, a huge list of enemies, all highly influential. Ava reached for the file, her gaze falling on a chilling detail on the accompanying forensic photo, a small note scrawled on the victim's desk blotter, written in blood, containing 3 names. A locked room murder on 5th Avenue. Ava murmured, her voice tight. Who's the primary suspect? The liaison leaned forward, his face pale. Asterisk asterisk his wife asterisk asterisk. She has an airtight alibi. She was supposedly with him the entire time. But the evidence suggests the killer was someone he trusted completely, someone who knew his routine. Jack leaned over the table, his controlled focus pulling all the disparate pieces together. A celebrated journalist, a massive list of enemies, and a perfect alibi that hides a private betrayal. He met Ava's intense gaze. Ava stared at the photo of the blood-stained list, a cold certainty settling in her eyes. It's not about the enemies on the list, William. It's about the killer who wasn't on it. Jack nodded slowly, his posture reverting to full military readiness. Then we're heading to New York. We're going to investigate the dead reporters list.